charging my tire.
And welcome, Trisha.
Thank you.
Trisha is the author of the Hanford Plaintiffs and an advocate for justice for Hanford downwinders and downwinders everywhere. So we're really pleased to have you with us this evening. Um, I don't know how much folks know about what we've been talking about with Hanford, but we're excited to get into it. So, floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much. I want to have time for questions and answers, or we could either do it as I proceed or at the end. Either way, which way would you rather handle the questions? Do you have a preference, Sean?
Um, yeah, I can moderate either way. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't look at the chat while I'm talking, so I'll miss every question that goes in there.
I'll,
Okay.
I'll keep an eye on it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason I am here now to talk to you is that the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, which was, well, shall we say, revived and reenacted last year, is now in process of potentially being expanded a bit more to include a lot of populations who, like Hanford downwinders, were left out. And so it's important right now. People are contacting their Congress people to support an effort by, I think he's entitled a representative of Guam. His name is Moyhan. Is that right? Moyhan.
Boylan?
Yeah, representative of Guam, who is actually writing up this expansion legislation. And so the Union of Concerned Scientists have been encouraging people to talk to their Congress people to try to support this effort. But the reason I'm here is to talk about what a downwinder is and why we've been left out. Um, so I'm going to start with kind of who I am and what's happened to me, and then I'm going to go from specific to more general. And I just use myself as an illustration of what happened to a lot of children, infants and children who lived in eastern Washington, on the Idaho Panhandle, western Montana, and northern Oregon, and were exposed to airborne radiation released from Hanford as byproducts of plutonium production, and were exposed potentially to the riverborne solids and liquids that Hanford dumped into the Columbia. Um, all this started with startup of the site in late 1944. So anybody who was a kid around then or who was born after that, elite, particularly during the 50s and the early 60s, was unknowingly exposed to a whole lot of radionuclides. And the main one that really hit the kids and hit me hard was radioiodine, one of the daughters isotopes, I-131, which was contained in releases from the stacks from Hanford and made its way into the milk by depositing on the pasture grass. And then the cows and goats grazed, and a lot of the iodine made its way into the milk. And there were studies done at the Hanford farm in 1950 that showed that about 30% of the radioiodine made its way into the milk of the cows and goats. So the Hanford operators knew there was a danger to children and adults downwind. And actually, this milk pathway was recognized much before Hanford was even operational. So you can't claim that the operators didn't know about this. There were about 200 or more other biologically significant radionuclides released from Hanford as well, which harmed other parts of the body. And the impact was cumulative, not just this organ, that organ, but we were exposed day after day after day. It was covert releases, so nobody knew that this was coming out of Hanford other than the security cleared employees, and they weren't necessarily aware of how much was coming out. I include my father in that, who is an engineer at Hanford. Um, I will never know how he could raise his family in such an environment, but he's dead now, so I can't ask him. And so, what's happened to me is typical of most of us who were kids, or I was conceived and born in Richland, and I have congenital deformities in the legs and the knees. And I had autoimmune thyroiditis, which is a typical form of thyroid disease caused by radioiodine exposure. It's also found in Nevada test site downwinders, Marshall Islanders, downwind of Chernobyl. And when thyroid cancer cells showed up in a nodule on my thyroid, they took out my thyroid, and I lost all but one parathyroid gland. And the parathyroids are right on the thyroid, and they regulate serum calcium levels, so that if you don't have your parathyroids, your calcium levels just plunge, and you get tetany, which is like a contraction. It's very painful, and the potassium. Let me get this right. The phosphorus levels are also very important to watch because they are unregulated when you don't have your parathyroids, and that could hurt your kidneys. So they're monitoring my kidneys as well. So I have all kinds of stuff that I have to deal with on a daily basis. My mother died of malignant melanoma, very aggressive. She was a downwinder. My dad was a worker at Hanford. He died of aggressive thyroid cancer. Downwinders are defined as anybody who wasn't a nuclear worker, basically. You could even be a downwinder if you wanted to be, if you were a worker. There's one person mentioned in my book, The Hanford Plaintiffs, who was a worker at Hanford, grew up in Richland, but decided to be a downwinder for purposes of the litigation that took place for the downwinders. So a downwinder is anybody who's basically not a worker. We're civilians. We're not military. If we were military, we wouldn't be downwinders of Hanford either. So the only reason I'm saying this is that the downwinders are the group that was just totally left out of any compensation. The Radiation Exposure Compensation Act that compensates certain people around the Nevada test site, and that's been expanded lately, includes many downwinders. Those are civilians. It has specifications for uranium miners, but not their families, unfortunately. The test site workers, and then the military has a separate system, although it's not actually compensating everyone who deserves compensation. So the group we're talking about right here is Hanford downwinders who are civilians. And we've been left out of the RECA. And you might ask, why would such a severely exposed group be left out of the RECA expansion effort? And we think there's two reasons. One is legislators are afraid there were too many of us and that there'll be no end to the number of people filing for compensation. I don't know. I doubt that that's the case. Many of us have died. I'm the only one I know of who's still left from the group that I used to work with in the 80s. That's one reason they're kind of shying away from it. But the other problem was there was litigation, Hanford Downwinders litigation, and it ran for like 25 years. It was the longest civil litigation in Eastern Washington state. And so some of the legislators say, well, they've already had their legislation. They've got their compensation. They don't deserve anything more. Well, that's not true either. Only people who had thyroid cancer or severe repercussions from thyroid problems, as did I when I had lost most of my parathyroids after a thyroidectomy. Only those people received settlements, and only very small amounts. I'm talking $5,000, $10,000 for a thyroid cancer. I mean, very low amounts, to the point where people were crying on the phone when they talked to their attorneys. Most of the 5,000 plaintiffs who filed for personal injury in around 1991 against the contractors that ran Hanford, most of them received nothing. And the reason is, in litigation, one must have strong epidemiologic studies to create the causal link between the exposure and the disease outcome. And so our attorneys had to rely on epidemiologic studies of exposure at other sites, Chernobyl, Marshall Islands, Nevada test site that showed the link between I-131 and thyroid problems. So thyroid cancer was one of the main diseases that was focused upon in this litigation. The other problem was the litigation. It was a mistake by the plaintiff's attorneys, but they agreed to use HEDR, Hanford Environmental Dose Reconstruction, as the basis for estimated doses that we received. And the reason that's a problem is that if you read the literature, and I won't go into that too much right now, there were a lot of problems with HEDR. It underestimated the doses, particularly of people who drank milk from backyard cows, where the iodine content was much higher than milk that had been in a dairy, because it takes a while for the radioiodine to decay in the milk. And one case that I mentioned in the book is that of Shannon Rhodes. You may have heard about her. It's a very sad case. She had the same kind of cancer cells that I did. They're called hurdle cells. And she lived on a small farm in Dusty, Washington. I'm not exactly sure where Dusty is. I think I know where it is. I might be able to find it on a map, but they had a farm and they drank fresh milk from the cow. And she developed hurdle cell thyroid cancer, which rapidly metastasized. She was one of the first bellwether plaintiffs in the litigation that went to trial in 2005, which was long after the case was filed due to all the delays the defense put up against us. And she was actually dying at the time of trial. And because her HEDR dose was too low, she couldn't make the causal link between the radioiodine and her thyroid cancer. It was really tragic. So they did a retrial and managed an expedited retrial because she was dying. And yet again, because of the estimated dose, they couldn't support the causal link. There's an example of misuse of reconstructed doses for us in litigation. Now, the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act is a no-fault system. You don't have to worry about estimated doses. Our exposure doses were not ever measured on purpose. The workers' doses were measured, at least when they were on the job, with badges and film and everything else. But for babies and infants and anybody else out there, no measurement whatsoever. So we have no records. We're like we should be like a special exposure cohort that you hear about at Hanford, where if you can't find the records for an employee, you say, hey, you got one of the cancers on the list, you were there for this amount of time, you qualify. And that's more like what RICA is set up like that. It says if you lived in a certain place for a certain amount of time and you have one of the diseases on this list, you are eligible for compensation. That is what needs to happen with Hanford downwinders. I know there was I know I'm rattling on here, but tell me if you have some questions before I do much or proceed. No questions from anybody? Okay. So Trinity test site downwinders have been included now, and that's great because, they were lied to, just like we were when they tested the bomb there and said it was just an explosive thing. Someone is talking, Alpana, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask the Compensation Act, is it not covering everyone at the moment?
No, that's why we're talking today. What's interesting is that it has covered more people than it did before, which is really very good. More of the areas that were impacted by the Nevada test site. It includes the Trinity downwinders now. It includes an area in Missouri called Coldwater Creek, where there were waste barrels from the Mallinckrodt company. But it left Hanford Downwinders out. So
Is there any reason that they are showing? Is there any kind of reason why they are cutting this?
Why they did not include the Hanford Downwinders?
Yeah.
Our theory, or what they've said, is that we had litigation for the Downwinders, so they've already had their day. But the litigation was had a lot of problems with it. Only people with thyroid problems and thyroid cancer really could only some of those people could establish the causal link between their exposures and their cancers. There were some people from river exposure who received compensation, but we started with 5,000 personal injury plaintiffs in around 1990, and it got whittled down to a very small number. I have a case, two instances I wanted to give you just as an illustration of how unjust the litigation was. One is Tom Bailey, who you may have heard of, who is a farmer who died not so long ago. He was an outspoken advocate. He was one of the plaintiffs in the litigation. But because his mother gave all of her children potassium iodide tablets every day to block uptake of radioiodine, none of them developed, none of them developed thyroid problems. Instead, he died of acute myelolytic leukemia just 2 years ago. That was not on the list of diseases where there were epi studies to show the causal link. He received nothing. It was very unfair. The reason his mother knew about this was she was one of Robert Oppenheimer's secretaries in California before they went to Washington State, and she had typed up some documents that indicated that there would be radioiodine released, so she knew to protect her kids. The other example I use is my own mom. She was downwinder, and she died of malignant melanoma. She was one of the plaintiffs in the litigation, but because she did not have thyroid cancer, she received nothing. So there's such a narrow little list of diseases that could be supported by epidemiologic studies in the litigation. Those are the people that, receive very small settlements.
Well,
So,
it's the injustice happening.
yes, yeah, it really is, and people are feeling, and we were even promised a medical monitoring program by the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, and the Department of Energy refused to fund it, saying they needed that for cleanup. And then we were supposed to have an exposure sub-registry, which would have followed our diseases over the years to see how we were and how we were doing. Department of Energy refused to fund that also, saying they didn't have the money, they needed it for cleanup. But you know how much money's been spent on cleanup. To fund a small program for 15,000 downwinders would have cost just a small part of that.
Thank you, though.
Yeah, so what we're trying right now is to work with Representative Moylan, I think it's Moylan, of Guam, who is writing up a comprehensive expansion right now to include people who were not included in RICA. It's like a time-sensitive thing where I think he's introducing it in 2 weeks or so. So we're trying to encourage people to contact their congressperson to let them know you're interested in helping.
I am interested in this.
Thank you. I really
always. I keep fighting for all this.
Thank you so much.
Directly with the member of Congress. Yes.
And the effort includes very much so the members of the tribes and nations who lived in the area. Those are also downwinders, and so are the migrant workers. Anyone who was not a worker at Hanford, a member of the military, is considered a downwinder, and they would all be eligible if they lived in the area during the years of fallout release and had any of the diseases on the list. So, yeah. Anybody
Thank
else?
you for monitoring. Thank you for doing so much. Thank
Oh,
you.
well, thank you. I don't know if I'm doing it. I'm just
Yeah,
talking now,
ad
but
advocating, that is enough.
yeah, I hope
Let
so.
people know. Yeah.
Yeah. Once there's a bill number, yeah, yeah. Um, what we're doing right now is just writing. There's a, I guess it was Sean. Did you have a sort of boilerplate letter to to your congressperson that people can adapt and
I know that UCS had
oh,
created one,
okay.
but I will be working on an action alert for people to send out probably
Oh,
tomorrow.
oh, thank you so much. Yeah. And I also wanted just to say that a lot of the downwinders have more than one health problem. I mean, once you have one autoimmune problem, you're prone to other ones. So we have people that have autoimmune thyroiditis, and then they go on to develop a rheumatoid arthritis or an asthma or multiple sclerosis. You know, it's just like your body has been through a big hit from the childhood exposure, and so our lives are not easy. I got to tell you, it's been challenging my entire life, and we didn't learn about why we were sick until around 1986 when Department of Energy finally released its previously classified operating agreement documents that revealed all these releases from the site, and that was only because of public pressure and Karen Dorn Steele writing articles in the Spokesman Review about the cancers and heart attacks across the Columbia River from Hanford. So, um, uh, um, yeah. So, does anybody have any other questions or anything I could? Hollis, I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for this report. We've heard recently I'm involved in the um, Uranium Weapons Working Group with Veterans for Peace.
Mhm.
We've heard a lot of what similar you are talking about from Piketon, Ohio.
Yep.
Cancer clusters all the way around that whole system, and they're trying to reignite that place. It's going to take two nuclear power plants just to power all the stuff that they're trying to do at Piketon. So
Yeah.
anyway, I wanted to let you know that we have a group. Uh, we had some scientists. They've since had a falling out, but we did produce a paper, and I don't know if I can show this to you.
Can't really
Uh,
read what it says. Uh, Veterans for Peace Working Group. I can't read too much of it, but assessing radiation risk.
what we found out is that it was a bunch of mathematicians that came up with some arbitrary numbers to determine the risk model in the first place. We're finding out from our research that it's off by 1,000%, that the existing uh, exposure is undercounted by that much. We think that probably 500 million people have died unnecessarily because of exposure. And so, what we're trying to do, we've sent letters to agencies, no response from all the agencies. So, we are in touch with an attorney, and we're trying to figure out how we could cast some light on that. But um, since the scientists have fallen out, we don't have an address for you to access this thing, but I can send it to you if I have your email. But
Sure.
anyway, uh, we're trying to put some energy behind uh, discovery of the misadjustment. And you're right about the epidemiological studies; those prove, without even having to do physics, that there's cancer clusters around every nuclear waste storage site, every power plant, every military base that uses nuclear weapons. And as far as Los Alamos, uh, their waste is leaking right down into the tribal reservations, two of them right down from Los Alamos. So we have now developed an a full spectrum analysis laboratory where communities can send samples,
Yeah.
and we think that eventually there will be a lab in every city to measure with a full spectrum analysis, plutonium and uranium toxicity.
Yeah, it would be. I think I saw something about that when I was looking at one of your meeting minutes. I think that was pretty awesome and pretty amazing. I remember asking to be put into the full whole body scanner once I asked the doctor if I could be put in there and see if there's anything in my body, and they won't touch it because of liabilities. Like, no,
Oh,
no. So they used to use whole body scanners on kids in Richland. And then they would reassure the parents that everything was just fine, you know.
we used to have our feet x-rayed for shoes back in the day.
The
And
fluoroscopes, I think they were called. Yeah, yeah.
my mom says, no, you can only go there for 5 seconds. And we kept wanting to go back and see our feet, and she wouldn't let us.
She
She
was
knew
smarter
back
than
then,
the average mom.
yes, she knew back in the 1950s that that was not good stuff.
Yeah, I've always asked myself why. I just wrote this novel about Hanford. It's called Then Came the Summer Snow, and it's about a housewife in Richland who discovers accidentally, because her son was playing with her husband's new uranium prospecting Geiger counter, he turns it on and the glass of milk next to it just starts, the Geiger counter goes off and starts clacking, and she realizes that the milk's radioactive and she can't believe it. And from then she just keeps on going, and she becomes like a warrior trying just to confronts the AEC and confronts her husband. Why didn't one housewife or one person in these places go, hey, wait a minute, I don't understand how come there wasn't one person that had like a rebellion and get all the kids out of there. I don't totally understand that. A mystery. So anyway, yeah,
Trisha,
so
there's a question in the chat from
oh,
Harry.
here.
He's wondering, he's interested in hearing about experiences you have bringing people from different political backgrounds together to work on nuclear issues.
Yeah, well, first of all, I can my own hometown of Richland is not a place I feel comfortable in. There's totally different political persuasion there. So, but now this whole effort right now with expanding RECA has a lot of Republicans involved. Fascinating because their constituents are complaining, like Holly's constituents were complaining that they are impacted by Coldwater Creek. Moyland is a Republican. I mean, it's just like, interesting. People coming together from these two from I'm a Democrat all the way through. I live in Berkeley, California. I mean, there's no question. But here we have these Republicans and their constituents coming together on this thing, which is amazing. Because like in my own family, which was had a lot of people who worked in the nuclear industry. Lawrence Livermore Lab. I got people that worked at Los Alamos. My parents worked at Hanford. I was just like full of people like that. Very, very, they did not enjoy the fact that I was questioning what they were doing. So that's always been the case. But so I'm not really good at bringing together that I don't deal well with that type of people. But now we find this effort of expanding RECA with these Republicans on board because of their constituents being impacted. So that's fascinating to me. I think it's I don't know, we'll see where it goes. I hope we'll get some support. The more people contact their congressperson right now or next week, it has to be soon, the better. All I can say, really. Yeah, a whole lot of our lives have been very much damaged, and a lot of people have never heard of Hanford, particularly outside the Pacific Northwest, and they just don't know. They don't understand They don't, a lot of young people don't know about atomic testing. They don't know about, they've heard of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but beyond that, not really. Yeah.
There's a couple of hands up for questions. We have Moji first.
Hi, thank you. And thank you for Trisha, for your heartbreaking
Ah,
report.
yeah.
I'm from Iran and I'm a peace activist, as a lot of folks who are in this meeting know me. I want to ask a weird question.
A weird
Give
question.
me,
Okay.
give me your feelings or reflections about the concept of patriotism.
That's funny. Well, just to start the answer, I hate the 4th of July and I never watch the fireworks because I'm too angry. Um, uh, to me, patriotism right now means fighting back against what Trump is doing and trying to hold on to the rights that we still have. That's patriotism to me. Um, because the more we lose, the more I understand how special what we have is. Um, that's my definition of patriotism. I don't know if anybody else wants to define patriotism in there the way they, you know.
Yeah. I think David and then Louise also had questions.
Okay.
Trisha, thank you very much for your courage, and you remind me of when you mentioned a little bit ago about heroes. I think you're a tremendous hero, truly.
Thank
You've had experiences that, well, it's unfortunate that you've had the experiences you've had, and to be able to come through those in the way that you have with the resilience and the determination, and the trauma you've been able to deal with. I don't know, you got probably your own issues with trauma. Most of us do, but to be able to work through those, and to remind me of like a person who has lost a child through drunk driving. A person might decide to be against drunk driving and to have a major a campaign. You had that to write this book and everything is just tremendous, and I applaud you 100%, 105%.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice of you to say that. That make when I get feedback like that, it helps me a lot. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Louise, right?
Yes, yes. When Harry was talking about Republicans, I mean, pretty amazingly, Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri
Right.
really pushed RICA.
He
I
did.
don't know whether he was the ultimate person, in terms of getting it expanded, but
Yeah,
because of all the people in Missouri, in the St. Louis area.
that's right.
So, I mean, saying thank you to Josh Hawley might be something we could also do.
Right. Yeah, no, his constituents were not shy talking to him.
Hmm.
They brought him out and they showed him. I mean, that's a really active group over there. Um, it's interesting because somebody asked me, why is it that Hanford doesn't really have a group? We don't really have a group. We don't have like a bunch of activists that march around and stuff. Um, and maybe part of it is because we were so worn out from waiting so many years for the litigation to resolve, and people were dying. And then we got promised things by federal agencies, and then the DOE pulled the funding at the last minute. After 30 years of that, you get so worn down that even if there was a group in the beginning, people were really angry right after we learned about our exposures. There was a lot of activism and anger. But after all these years, I think people either died, got sicker, or they just faded out. So we don't have that kind of energy that they had there at Coldwater Creek. I was impressed by that group. I really did a good job. But that is a waste site, which really, I mean, let's say you were to say, I think RECA only applies to test sites. Well, can't say that anymore. Hanford is kind of a waste site. It's also a production site, but it's also a waste site. So, and it's much bigger than Coldwater Creek. That's the worst waste site in the world, practically. I mean, with the most stuff coming out, I just can't believe they would leave this out of the litigation. It's just amazing to me. So, good point, though.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Trisha. Last time I saw you in person, I think it was around 10 years back, and it was tangential in a meeting about the national effort to nationalize the nuclear facilities and turn them into parks. So Hanford was becoming a new park, the B reactor. It's something, you take the kids to, and
Yes. Yes.
they hand out glowing,
Right.
cotton candy. So I'm curious how, and you were struggling just to get them to include downwinders in the dialogue and in the history. And so I'm curious how that has developed since then. And as context, because it's such a stacked deck, against everyone. And for instance, something that we all see here on social media, on Facebook, Department of Ecology, Washington State Department of Ecology has a Hanford page, and they have a thing that they do Throwback Thursday, and they put up a cool, like, black and white photo of different Hanford related things. But it's always this happy spin. And it's horrifying to watch. So I'm just curious how the struggle goes against keeping the history alive.
Yeah, that's such a great question. Mike's been involved for so long helping us. I mean, I remember I remember working with you on a film when I came back from Sweden or something, and I went to your house and you were filming. That must have been 12, 15 years ago. I don't even know. So a long time. But Mike's done a whole lot behind the scenes. But we had a nonprofit for a while called CORE, Consequences of Radiation Exposure. It was a good name. It was a 501c3. I guess I was the president. Yeah, anyway. And we said this was around the time that the Manhattan Project Historic National Park was signed into existence by President Obama, I believe it was. And it's set up so that the Department of Energy and the National Park Service are supposed to co-manage each of three sites: Los Alamos, Oak Ridge, and Hanford. So the meeting that Mike referenced was one of those first meetings where people came and we were talking about how we were going to, how is this going to work with the two entities working with each other. And as usual, we felt like we'd been kind of left out. And so we walked around and wrote downwinders on every one of their big butcher paper lists of what was important. We write downwinders everywhere so they couldn't ignore us. But we wanted to have at least a display in the reactor when tourists would go in there, and something mentioned by the docents on the bus ride out to the reactor and back. And we engaged a federal mediation center. I think it's called the McCain Center. Is anybody familiar with that for mediation? Anyway, they were going to mediate between us and the DOE to talk about this problem. And right about then, Trump got elected. I know I'm forgetting some of the years, but anyway, the whole thing just vanished. But we were ready to have some sort of mediation where we'd say, hey, our interests are not being represented, and the National Park Service has been very hesitant to confront the Department of Energy. The most they have done is put some of our oral histories online, and now they're worried that those are going to get taken down too. So we lost that battle as well. I don't think anything's mentioned at all about downwinders in either the docents talk on the bus or in the reactor. Yeah,
It's criminal.
I'm sorry, just have to report that. We've had a lot of losses. We've had so many losses. We did have one victory. It's very small. Well, it's not a small victory. We had a victory, which was after the Hanford thyroid disease study came out and said that nobody got hurt downwind of Hanford, basically, no problem. Tim Connor, who's a journalist in Spokane, and I took this letter that we had composed and had 22 community groups sign, took it to DC and met with this official of CDC and said, we don't object necessarily to the results of Hanford thyroid disease study draft findings, but the way it was presented to us, saying that we should be reassured that our thyroid health has not been hurt from Hanford, was very insulting. People were crying and yelling at the meeting where they announced this. We would like an extended review of this study. And to their credit, they funded a 6-month review of the study by the National Academies of Science, which had a couple of meetings. And there's this big book you can read now of what their findings were. And the findings were that this was far more uncertain than it was portrayed. It did not correlate with the studies of people exposed to radioiodine downwind of the Nevada test site, Marshall Islands, Chernobyl. It was just, they talked about how the doses were inaccurate and underestimated. So it was a victory for us, the little guy. That was it, though. That's the only one I could think of that was a victory of any sort. At least there was that. No.
Well, Trisha, maybe some closing remarks from you.
Please, if you feel like you would be motivated to support the downwinders to be added to the legislation, please contact your congressperson, and hopefully we can get out a boilerplate letter to make it really easy for people. And we would be so appreciative. And just the fact that you're here and that you care enough to listen to me yapping away, I thank you so much. It just means the world to me. I think you guys do amazing work, and you're a terrific and amazing group of people. I wish we could clone you guys and like populate the world with you guys. World would be so much better. That's my closing statement.
Perfect.
Can I hang out and just watch the
Yeah,
presentation?
no, absolutely. Stick around.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, virtual round of applause for Trisha.
Oh,
Okay.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
That's so cute. I love these little emojis floating up here. This is great.
So, yeah, just to go into the legislation directly on RICA, um, as Trisha mentioned, the representative from Guam is putting together a comprehensive uh, RICA expansion bill. So there's going to be a pretty short turnaround for us to affect our legislators on this. Um, so I will work on getting an action alert out tomorrow, and I'd really appreciate coalition members if you can turn that around to your groups and get them to contact members of Congress. We were initially going in with a different strategy. That strategy centered around getting an amendment introduced into the House Armed Services Committee. It's still something that we're going to try for, but right now the main thing is to get Hanford um, involved in that comprehensive expansion. Um, and what else to say? Yeah, I'll let folks know. So I was in Eastern Washington a couple weeks ago, and I did have a couple meetings with folks with the Yakima tribe and one of the presidents of one of the Hanford workers unions, and the uh, the feedback I got is just that the workers are concerned about whether RICA could be in addition to their benefits they get from Department of Energy, or if it would take away from them. So we'll make sure to clarify that it's a plus for them and not something that takes away. And then the tribal folks want to make sure that we're including tribal communities downriver from Hanford. So any tribal community that is eating fish out of the Columbia River really should be included. So that's the feedback that I got. So as we talk to these offices, we'll make sure to include both of those. Um, so yeah, keep on the lookout for that.
Okay.
And that will be coming soon.
Could I mention one thing real quickly?
Yeah.
There's this whole group of migrant workers, in addition to workers who weren't migrant, who are uh, working the fields during the years of fallout exposure with the short-handled hose, which put them very close to the ground. And there used to be a couple of people. One was a resident farm worker, and one was a migrant farm worker community who were on the Hanford Health Effects Subcommittee. I don't know how to reach those folks anymore, but those people should be included, as they really should. And when I talk to them, their lives have been so hard that this was yet just, Hanford was just another thing on top of everything else that had happened to them. It was so sad I mean, really, when I talked to them, they went, well, they already had such hard lives that this was something else. But so I would not want them excluded. So thanks. I just wanted to jump in with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, and if there's any way we can get connected with them, I would be eager to do so. Any questions about Rika, about Hanford at this point? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move us forward then. Um, so just going into updates on legislation, things in Congress. This is an interesting update because really this is I think the first time in U.S. history 30 lawmakers got together and penned a letter acknowledging the state of Israel's possession of nuclear weapons and called on uh, the executive branch to end the ambiguity policy that they've had, the can't won't confirm or deny policy. Um, for us in Washington, I saw that Rep. Jayapal signed on to this, as well as Representative Randall, my representative, which was a surprise. So I linked that letter in the chat if folks are curious at looking about that. But it's really important that this be acknowledged as you know, if people are going to accuse Iran of starting a nuclear arms race, they did not, right? Israel is the first nation in the Middle East to possess these weapons. For nuclear testing, just there has not been a new co-sponsor on the Block Nuclear Testing Act since Adam Smith signed on in April. So we're at total, there's 26 co-sponsors in the House, and then there's 8 in the Senate. And from Washington, it's just Adam Smith right now. Momentum around New START has really stalled. There were 28 co-sponsors in the House on the New START resolution, 18 in the Senate. The last sign on that resolution was March 5th. So there has not been much on that front. And then if folks are tracking we did put out an action alert on restricting the president's ability to launch a nuclear first strike after his comments with Iran. Um, and that legislation still does not have any co-sponsors from Washington State, or I think there's one from Oregon though. Um, there's 34 co-sponsors in the House and then 7 in the Senate. So um, that's that's where legislation is at. Um, Again, there's not much that can be accomplished without bipartisan support, but where we're at right now, it's really important to build support where we can, especially in anticipation for potentially the House being retaken in 2026. Um, okay, next, just want to recap a few more things. So if you, let's see, organized a tax day event and would like to share about that, I know that there was a lot in April. Don't want to gloss that over. My understanding from like a higher level is that there were 12 events, mostly film screenings. There was a webinar, rallies, and at least one lobbying meeting. So if you organize an event and would like to share a little bit about that, I give folks the opportunity to do so.
I already posted it in the chat because I'm taking a training. I'm giving training. Started in January and is going to end in December. Every month, one training for the protecting our democracy. So this month would be tomorrow. That's 3 o'clock, and you have to register and mobilize. In this one, I will talk about how does the legislature works in Washington State. And the next one would be on 19th June, on which I will express how in 2026, how did it work? The Washington State legislature worked. Some of the bills that we passed, some of they are still pending and they didn't go through. But this year again, we will do it. So all the success and, not able to do both. We'll talk about that. And then we will train some volunteers how to work in
Thank
the
you, Alpana. Is this an update from Indivisible or?
No, I am doing, this is my
Oh,
campaign.
okay.
I am doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Julia or Cindy, would either of you want to share about the events you worked on?
Well, I could say that we did table during the Tulip Festival for 3 days, and we did screen a film. Did we? So much we did. We met with Rick Larson, and for the third time with his representative, and I don't think that went very well. Didn't seem like it made a dent at all. And at the end of this month, the Unitarians in Skagit Valley will be signing on to a faith-based letter on NWANW, and I'll be talking to them about that.
Awesome. Oh, that is great to hear. And um, with your meeting with is it Rachel is her name?
Yeah, Rachel.
Yeah. Do you have the sense that maybe she doesn't have a lot of pull in that office, or what do you think is the barrier?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of wondering, because we really pushed on all of the legislation, right, that you've actually mentioned just right today. And of course, we've gotten nothing. So I don't know, it's a little bit discouraging when it's about, like Julia said, the third time that we've talked to her. I am. She does keep talking about that there are people more versed in this in the DC office.
Mhm.
And so, maybe that's where somehow we need to go. Through you, John, or something. And yeah, I did have our small group up here, about 14 people. I put out a thing and said, ask Larson to do all this. But again, he hasn't done a thing, so that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate all of you working on Rick Larson, and I think maybe it would be accurate to say that yeah, getting that connection in the DC office would be good, but also uh more voices, and that it seems like we have to kind of build up our support in that district to make him blink. I'm not sure if that guy blinks, but we got to make him blink. Um, so things like bringing in more faith leaders, like Julia mentioned, um, working on the local resolution, right, in La Conner, um, getting support from more organizations. I think it would make sense to um, focus on that.
One thing I guess I would say is that the screening for Earth's Greatest Enemy, that was really valuable because it kind of put us out there, in a bigger way than we would normally, have an opportunity to do, or and our group No More Bombs. And I'm really grateful to the director, for making it so easy for us and other groups to screen the film. So I was surprised at really how easy it was to do that, and also the support of the theater itself. I mean, the film, they charged, but the theater didn't at all.
Wow, that's really great to hear. Um, yeah, it's been incredible to see how this film has turned people out in such a large way. I mean, the majority of the Tax Day to Earth Day events that we organized were screenings of that film. Or that's I mean, by and large. And people show up. I saw Gu Lee's hand. Gu, would you want to talk about the visit from the Korean A-bomb victim association?
Yep, sorry for kind of it's not opening. Had is five visitors from Korea, one 25 victims, first generation and second generations. They visit Seattle from 20th to 22nd. So we had the first meeting with Korean kind of community on Monday, 20th, and also Tuesday we had the meeting in Seattle. So Ruiz is kind of support this kind of is our location and venues. So we had this pretty good kind of time with testimony and a lot of question and answers. And after that, as they visit this Ground Zero Center, also thanks to Kathy. So we had kind of brief talk about this nuclear submarines, causes South Korea also is a government is considering build this nuclear kind of submarines and then some nuclear powers. So had a pretty great meeting, and after that, they visited San Francisco, Sacramento, LA, New York, and DC. Has testimony and some other event, and also joined NPT conference in New York. So basically, this visit they more focused on IPT, International People's Tribunal, in November, hosted by Korean people. So they will kind of deliver the verdict in TPNW end of this year. So that's the plan. And thanks so much for kind of your support, especially to Louise and Sean and Kathy here.
And thank you, Gu, for giving folks the opportunity to hear directly from um, Korean folks affected by the atomic bomb. That's a really you did a lot of work, and that was really special to have them come back for another visit. Alpina, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, people here, that there was a climate justice town hall being arranged by, I think, uh, through all these climate organizations throughout the US. They were there, and I think it wasn't being sponsored by Pramila Jaipal, because usually I always see their staff running around and doing stuff. They were not running around there. That means only few chief of staff and one or two people were there, but the other people were running around, who were new, very new, from Washington DC, from Vancouver, from all over the country. The people were there, and I met some of them, new people. It was fantastic. I asked some of the bills that I wanted to ask on the mic, and she said, yes, we are amplifying the things. And I have the recording of that too. If you want, I can send. I'm asking about the bill numbers that to put, say no on that. So what are you doing there? Then she said, definitely we are saying no. We are not going to vote that, but then it might go through from our house, but then we will again stop and send it. Finally, what's going to happen? Are they going to pass these bills? No, we will stop it there. So I'm working on those things. So if you give the bill numbers, I will start working on that too.
Okay. Thank you, Alpina.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay, I think unless anyone else wants to share about an event for Tax Day to Earth Day, I'm gonna move us along. First, I want to let people know that the NPT, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Conference, is still ongoing. We did have one person from Washington State attend the civil society portion of that. Her name is Kim Ann Tran. She's a newer member of our group and one of our emerging leaders. And I'm hoping that she's going to have a write-up for us on her experience to share. Uh, Suffice to say, the NPT is in pretty serious trouble. Um, the Article 6 of the NPT has not been followed through on, that countries would come together and pursue disarmament. So that coupled with the continued proliferation of nuclear weapons, um, the war in Iran, and nations like Israel having arsenals that violate the treaty. It's it's a difficult time for this international framework, which I'd just remind folks not only governs the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, but the safe use of any nuclear material. So nuclear power, nuclear technology is all governed under the NPT through the creation of the International Atomic Energy Agency. So that it's a very important treaty, and we'll continue to watch the progress of the conference, and we'll probably continue to watch the U.S. delegation embarrass us and disappoint us in many different ways. Um, Ongoing right now, and where I was at right before this meeting is the last hearing uh, uh, of it's an environmental impact hearing on plutonium pit production. Um, the A couple of organizations, including NUCWatch, New Mexico, sued the NNSA, the National Nuclear Security Administration, to require them to conduct an environmental impact process for their plans to increase the production of plutonium bomb cores. Their goal is to produce between two sites, Los Alamos and the Savannah River, 208 plutonium pits a year by 2030. That's 208 nuclear weapons a year by 2030. This is a pretty awful thing to watch unfold, but you know, sitting there and listening to them try to justify what they are doing, I think was important, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity to weigh in and to organize against this plan. So, since this is the last in-person and virtual meeting, the only option for folks now is going to be written comments. So I want to encourage people to write written comments to uh, oppose the increased plutonium production uh, and show solidarity with the folks fighting plutonium production in South Carolina and New Mexico. So you can submit a written comment to PEIS at nnsa.doe.gov with DOE/EIS-0573 in the subject line. And the due date for that is going to be July 16th. If you're looking for talking points, you just want to go to PEIS.com. So what we want is no action. That's the alternative, is the no action alternative, that they do not move forward and produce more nuclear waste into more nuclear weapons, because the environmental impact of this proposal is too high. It's unacceptable. The environmental impact of 200 nuclear weapons is, right, it is the end of the world. So we got to make sure that they hear that loud and clear. I'll follow up with this information as well, but now I'd like to turn it to Harry to provide an update from Back from the Brink.
Thanks, John. Hey, everyone. Good to see everyone. I see a couple new faces who I've never met today. So I'm going to give a very brief overview of what Back from the Brink is and then jump into our action opportunities for this month. My name is Harry. I'm a community organizer with Back from the Brink. And Back from the Brink is a national coalition that's building a grassroots movement in the US for 5 common sense policy goals to reduce and eventually eliminate nuclear weapons globally. And we're delighted to be endorsed by this coalition and work together very closely with this coalition. And there's 2 main action opportunities I want to make sure you all know about this month. One is our monthly Washington State Back from the Brink strategy and action team calls are starting back up. So we had a great one last month, strategized about the King County Council and the Seattle City Council and how we can get them speaking up against nuclear weapons again. And these are just an opportunity for us to share ideas across our state, what local advocates are doing in LaConner, Bellingham, Seattle, Redmond, other cities, and learn from each other, make new connections. So the calls are on the 4th Thursdays of the month from 5:30 to 6:30, and the next one's on May 28th at 5:30. So I'll drop the details in the chat in a moment. And the other opportunity I wanted to make sure you all knew about this month is Back from the Brink has a national monthly call. So in addition to the statewide monthly call that I just mentioned, there's a national one called the Local Organizing Meetup. And this is a great networking opportunity, meet with other nuclear weapons advocates from across the country. The calls are on the 3rd Tuesdays of the month. So the next one's this coming Tuesday at 4 Pacific. And everyone here is welcome. If you want to attend those calls, just shoot me a quick email and I'll send you the information for this one and also can add you to the email list for future ones. So, are there any questions about any of that? All right, well, I'll paste the information in the chat and I'll kick it back to you, Sean.
Awesome. Thanks, Harry. Okay, faith organizing. So for that interfaith statement, we're hovering around 35 signers around the Pacific Northwest and a few outside. So appreciate folks that are trying to bring more in. For my part, I've been working with folks in Pax Christi to try to get a meeting with the Archbishop of Seattle, to encourage him to try to take a little bit more leadership, not just in the moral sense, but in sense of organizing around legislation. I think the opportunity is there if he's willing to take it. So I'm hopeful that that will progress. We're gonna try to make a similar effort for the Archbishop of Yakima and kind of Central Washington, including Hanford, to speak out about RECA and the need to expand it. So, okay, and let's get into coalition updates. If you are a representative of an organization and you have an update to share, let's hear it. David.
Thanks, Sean. Some of you know about this, some of you don't, probably, but 2 weeks from this Saturday, there's annual Western Washington FOR Spring Assembly. And everyone's invited who wants to be there. We don't turn anyone away. The theme is confronting militarism at home and abroad. And we have some, we think, of course, we're biased, but we have some pretty doggone good speakers lined up. Some of you know Carl Ricken, and he's going to be speaking on conscience and objection. And then we have Una Foster Bill, a young woman who's been involved in a in our nonviolent training programs for a couple of years or so, and she's going to be talking about nuclear weapons, active involvement in nuclear weapons. I think she's worked with Sean at least in one situation workshop. We also have a man by the name of James Janko, who is well known in Veterans for Peace. And he's going to be talking about addressing climate change and honoring the earth. He's done a lot of stuff on that. And then, of course, we're going to have, as we usually do, or always do, some young folks who are in that nonviolent training program. And then I understand there's one graduate of that program who 10 years ago, and he's now a professor at University of I think Seattle University. And he's an alumni as such, and he's going to be speaking a little bit too. So, like I said, you're all invited to register. I'll put the information on this is it here, the flyer. I'll put the registration information and the email and website on the chat. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, David. And I really appreciate FOR kind of uplifting the voices of kind of, new activists in the nuclear space. It's really valuable.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Any other updates from partner orgs? Mary. And Mary, you're on mute.
I just want to thank you for the program tonight and to let people know that August 6th, the lantern floating at Green Lake is on. We'll be contacting folks by email and in other ways to sponsor, to donate to us so that we can pay for some of the expenses. It's a fairly expensive thing to put on, but we really have been lucky. Every year that we've had Hiroshima to Hope, the weather has cooperated and the mood of the crowd has been wonderful. The program is still in process, but will be wonderful. The choices we have are hard. They're all hard choices because all the people we want to have on the program are amazing. So it's an embarrassment of riches. And if they're not on the program this year, maybe they will be next year. They're going to focus on Japanese American community because of the fact that it's the date of the Hiroshima bombing. and also, yeah, youth youth voices, Veterans for Peace voices, poets. Anyway, I won't go on and on. So expect that you'll be getting notifications about the event itself, and we'll have an amazing poster this year. I I am so happy that an artist stepped forward just recently to do the poster. I think people will really be pleased with that. And even the T-shirt design that the volunteers get. If you volunteer with from Hiroshima to Hope, you get an absolutely amazing T-shirt. So I don't want to hype it too much. At our next meeting, I'll have much more, and of course, I'll be sending it out as soon as we have the program set. Then we'll be sending out announcements. So thanks, and look forward to. And oh yeah, I on another total subject. We were very happy. Robin and I were at the showing of Earth's Greatest Enemy up in Kenmore, and I reported to the other group, but I should report to this group. There were at least 20 people there. I would say 21. I knew 7 of them. Many Veterans for Peace people and peace activists from points north. I didn't know 7 of them. And then there were 7 young people who were very articulate, very committed, very concerned. So it's really worth seeing this devastating movie, utterly devastating movie. But it really encouraged me also that, and this is for Harry Katz, that a council member from Kenmore and the mayor of Kenmore were both there. So if you're looking for a place where you could probably pick up another Mayors for Peace, you might try Nigel Herbig. He's the mayor of Kenmore, and I don't know the name of the Kenmore City Council person.
It's Melanie O'Kane. Mary Hanson, thank you so much for bringing that up. And Harry, I am happy to help you with those connections. But Sean, that meeting is on May 28th. So I said I could help with membership. I'm going to rescind my offer maybe, but I'll talk to you and you can tell me which one you want me to go to, because I think we could develop some relationships there with peace activism on the North Sound.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought it was so relevant to what Mary was saying.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Mary. And yeah, I would be delighted to connect with those electeds, Robin. Thank you.
So thank you, Robin. I was essentially done anyway, but I would say that I'm still struggling with getting everything that I need to do done, but I am making some contact through a friend of mine who was also involved in organizing it. Y'all maybe know Marty Schmidt. And then it's great if Robin, who lives there, can really take the lead on this. I was just happy to be there, and I was happy to see that mayor and council person so concerned. Tough to see that movie. I don't know how many of you saw it. That was devastating. I just want to acknowledge. Oh my, wow. Yeah. Glad we showed it. Glad we all got to see it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. And yeah, from Hiroshima to Hope, definitely the largest anti-nuke gathering in the state, probably in the Pacific Northwest. So if you sponsor, I know you get your logo on the material and are welcome to put up a table there. So I encourage folks who haven't sponsored before to consider it and reach out to Mary if you're interested. Let's see. Unless somebody else from Ground Zero wants to jump in, just mention that the pagoda, the Peace Pagoda at Ground Zero, it's been in the works for at least 10 years, is finishing, and the dedication ceremony is coming up. I believe it is on May 25th. let's see. Am I off? Let me open my calendar and get that right. May 23rd, Saturday, May 23rd, and there's going to be hundreds of people there coming to Kitsap County. I think it is invite only, but I made sure to grab a couple extra RSVPs when I signed up. So if you want to go, I got some extra tickets. So just let me know. That should be another really large event and really exciting.
Who
Um,
is it?
I
Who
hate to
is it?
butt in on that one, but I just want to warn everybody. Uh, little down to earth from me. Are you shocked and surprised? Mary being down to earth? Yep. Anyway, you have to take the 7:55 ferry, whether it's from the Bainbridge ferry or the Edmonds ferry, to get over there. And you really have to know what you're doing. You do have to sign up with them. I would say contact Sean if you want to go over there. But they are sending out emails to the people who registered, and it's fairly complex because of the parking situation. They're expecting hundreds of people, and there isn't that kind of space at Ground Zero for parking. So they're actually going to have a fairly complex system where people will be dropped off by the drivers at Ground Zero, and then the drivers will go to another lot, park their cars, and be taken back to Ground Zero. A lot of stuff. It'll probably involve about 7 or 8 hours from beginning to end of a time commitment. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but that's why they put the Trident base there. They wanted to make it really hard for people to demonstrate against that place. So it's tricky to get to, all the rest of it, but wonderful people, and it'll be a great event. So encourage people to come.
Yeah, thanks for adding that, Mary. And yeah, I would just assume it's an all-day commitment. I'll put
Who is the person who is retiring?
It's a dedication for a peace pagoda that was built by Buddhist monks. So that'll be the celebration. Some other thing to note, there is a new person at Ground Zero. Her name is Una. David mentioned her before, and she is trying to lead organizing of their August 9th event. And I would have folks consider going. I just dropped an RSVP form in the chat. So if you have no plans for Nagasaki Day, come on out to Kitsap County. And this may be premature, but we're all pals here. But I'm trying to talk Abby Martin into being the keynote speaker for this event, and had some promising emails with her, and so you can come out and meet her, possibly, maybe, hopefully, we'll see. So yeah, be sure to be there, and we'll keep promoting that closer we get to that date. For WPSR, yeah, after a couple years of asking our board and my boss to do this, we're going to have a annual membership meeting on May 28th. So this is not exclusive to members, but it is primarily a meeting of our membership. That is not a fundraiser. It's just a time for us to get together to talk and learn from one another. And that is going to be 5:30 p.m. Right by our office in El Centro de la Raza, which is located in the Beacon Hill neighborhood, right next to the light rail station. So if you are interested in checking that out, again, that's May 28th, free to attend. There's going to be food. We would love to have you there, and I can follow up with that information to RSVP.
Yeah, please, can you put that in the chat or something?
Yep.
Yes, I will find that while I'm talking.
That's wonderful. I've been wanting something like that forever, but I mean, I don't know if any way I can go, but I'm just delighted to hear.
Yeah, I would love a caravan from Skagit County to come down, so I'm all for it. Um, so the other exciting announcement is that we are able to, um, uh, thanks to a new partnership with a um, foundation, we've been able to increase the number of people that we're sending uh, on our emerging leaders program. So we're going to send a group of 10 people uh, to Hiroshima this summer. And if you haven't seen, it's a really qualified group of folks, and we're really excited, a really diverse group of folks. And they're going to be spending 2 days at the Ground Zero Center right before their flight. So um, we're making sure to uh, talk to them about local activism. And the night before they leave, which is going to be the 29th, I think we'd like to have a big activist potluck out in Kitsap County. So folks will be invited to join that if they are so inclined. So uh, I was able to find the RSVP, our info link for the membership meeting. So that's in the chat for folks who are wondering. Um, let's see, other updates from WPSR. I've just been running around the state talking to folks. So I've been to Western Washington University in Bellingham, been to the University of Washington, I've been to Whitman College in Walla Walla, and Everett Community College in the past month, talking to folks about nuclear weapons, trying to get the word out. Um, let's see. And we're also, still looking to hire an anti-ICBM organizer, so that job posting that project is still out there, um, waiting for the right person. So, yeah, if you have connections with folks in the 5 ICBM states and are willing to help us make introductions to folks in Montana, North Dakota, Wyoming, Nebraska, or Colorado, please do let me know. Any other announcements or updates from coalition members or anything for the good of our order? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right. We'll go ahead and adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you all for attending, and let's keep working to. Moji's got something.
Hi, I just wanted to make an announcement for a new project that I began. You know, the town Minab, Iran, 168 little girls in which were perished by 3 Tomahawk missiles that were flown from from south of the Persian Gulf, uh, created by Raytheon in Tucson, most likely. And so I dreamed of a project called Minab School Memorial Monument for Peace to be built in Minab. I put the link in the chat, and the crazy idea is, what if the people who built those missiles, those Tomahawk missiles, got involved in building a memorial for peace in as close to the playground of the school in Minab as possible. So anyhow, I know you're at the end of your meeting, so if you're interested, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Moji. All right, if there's no more announcements, we'll go ahead and adjourn. And I will make sure to circulate a recording of Trisha's talk for anyone who didn't make it, and try to send out any links from this evening. All right. Thanks, folks. Have a good night.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Trisha.
Thank you, Trisha. Thanks, Sean.
Excellent.